Good morning. It has been an insane last, 40, 78 hours since I've seen you guys? Whatever it is. A ridiculous amount of time has passed, and that is not fair because there's a lot of things to get to. So with that being said, let's get right into it.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
Oh, would you look at that? Sometimes guys like me aren't doing their jobs correctly and don't realize they're on the air when they're actually on the air. Guys, welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making this a part of your day. However you're watching, however you're following the show, thank you for doing so. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, potentially even tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Listen, I understand you're a busy person. You've got things you've got to do sometimes, but either way, pay your guy a little visit like me and potentially even let someone know. All right. There has been so much going on in the world of sports since the last time we talked, and now it has come to the point where we just got to talk about it. Let's start here with some of the different chronological orders of what has happened with the Phoenix Suns and all of the nonsense that has taken place. So let's start here. I believe it was Thursday. It would have been Thursday because that's when me and Brendan at we're doing Locked On Phoenix Suns, and him and I were talking about some of the things that Devin Booker had said in his press conference, and it was very telling, and it was very eye-opening. Booker seemed to be throwing some guys under the bus, or at least saying some guys weren't being as vocal as maybe Booker was. And it looked like Devin Booker was pretty pissed off, and I was disappointed because I thought Booker was going after teammates. Just for John Gambadoro of 98.7 FM to tweet out to someone, I think he was talking about Mike Budenholzer, which I immediately sent to my co-host Brendan Clean, and I had said, Brendan, if John is saying this, that being Gambo, I don't know why I called him John, he knows something. And if he knows something, this is worse than even you and I thought. And I went from saying that Budenholzer was not getting fired, no shot he was getting fired, to very 50-50 at this point. And then it just continued to pile on top of each other. Then Chris Haynes, his report comes out that Devin Booker had a meeting with Mike Budenholzer, and it was all about Booker being too vocal. Your star being too vocal. Not the eighth man on the bench. Your star. The guy who you'd want to be vocal. Now, I don't know what would constitute as Devin Booker being too vocal, but I'll tell you what. You don't tell your star to calm down. Maybe there's a potential out there that Booker was being too harsh on teammates. I don't know. I really don't know. It just feels like it's all grasping at straws. And then, of course, the media comes out and they ask Budenholzer the question, and Budenholzer acts like he's never talked to Devin Booker before about anything that could be questionable. And then, of course, the media went to Devin Booker and they asked him the same thing. They vetted him, and he basically said the same thing. That, nope, don't even know what they're talking about. Just so we're clear, for those that don't understand things in the media or how players and coaches have manipulated the media, Devin Booker 100% leaked to Chris Haynes that he was not happy with Mike Budenholzer. And he used that specific instance as his crutch of the argument. He called him in and he said, no, he told me that I need to be less vocal. So I don't really love the fact that both guys, Budenholzer and Booker, are just blowing smoke and acting like nothing ever happened. But I do get it. You know, I was speaking with a media member last night that me and him are just watching the both teams warm up and just kind of chit-chatting back and forth about things. And he had basically said to me that, well, Booker said that never happened. And I was like, yeah, of course Booker said it never happened. What is he supposed to say? Oh, yeah, no, we hate each other. There's 2 months left to go in the season, or a month and a half left to go in the season. He doesn't want to do that. Now, you could argue then why would he leak it to the media? But that's a question for Devin Booker, not for me. Here's the one thing about Budenholzer getting after Devin Booker and the report that John Gambadoro saying that Budenholzer is horribly tough to deal with. Here's my thing. You can fire Mike Budenholzer. That's fine. I honestly don't care at this point. But you have to ask yourself, is it going to change anything? Is it going to change the trajectory of the Phoenix Suns even 1 iota? Because here's my biggest issue for Suns fans that get upset with Budenholzer because his adjustments stink or his rotations stink, because in their same breath they'll say, well, this front office has really screwed up this roster. So is it Budenholzer's fault or is it the front office's fault? Because it can't just completely be both. Or I guess it could, but my argument to that would be, you think getting a 4th coach in 4 years is what's going to solve the Suns' problems. You think going and getting Chauncey Billups or a young, quote-unquote, ascending head coach is going to fix this team? They're broken culturally. They're not broken at the coaching side of things. Move on from Budenholzer. That's fine. But if your expectation is that this team is going to just figure it out after he walks out that door, we said the same thing with Vogel. And I told you on the radio at Fox Sports 910 that was not the case. Not the case. It has been a wild ride. It has been incredibly frustrating. And there has been no stone left unturned with the media aspect of all of this. It has been a very busy Suns season for a team that is awful. And it might just end up in Devin Booker walking into Matt Ishbia's office and saying, hey, me or that guy, me or Coach Budenholzer, you got to pick. And we all know, of course, who they're going to pick. They're going to pick Devin Booker. But if you think a 4th head coach in 4 years is going to fix this team, you are sadly mistaken, my friend. This is a cultural divide. They are broken at the core of what this team is. They're losing to the Pelicans at home easily. And you think a new coach is going to fix that? No. They need a complete come to Jesus moment for this team. And it's going to end up with Kevin Durant going elsewhere and retooling around Devin Booker. But the spirit of this team is lost. And a head coach isn't coming in and fixing that. It's going to come with a complete retool around Devin Booker. Budenholzer, him telling Devin Booker that he's got to tone it down, that's nonsense, and it's indefensible. But that alone is not what ruined the Suns' season. What ruined the Suns' season was injuries, the fact that they're too small, they can't rebound. Defensively, they are awful, especially on the perimeter. It wasn't because a head coach upset Devin Booker, which I clearly side with Booker in this, but it is not fixing anything with this team. There's no redo button for this team that's just going to fix it all. So You can get rid of Budenholzer. That's fine. And honestly, at this point, I think it's going to happen. But of course, things can change. I thought for certain last week that there was no chance in the world that it wasn't getting fixed, that it wasn't getting changed. But after the things that have transpired over the past couple of days, I don't know how Budenholzer saves his job. And things get out to the media when people want it out. Things don't just leak. It's not a real thing. Devin Booker was the one that let this out, his camp, because they want to push Budenholzer out. Likely. And with guys like Gambo talking about potential replacements, I think that they already know he's a dead man walking. Is it going to fix the Suns alone? No. They need a complete come-to-Jesus change of heart moment, and changing a head coach ain't going to do that. It needs to be a complete retool of this team. All right. There was the NFL Combine this last week. Give me a second before I give you a couple of guys who obviously you can see down there who I want to talk about. Mainly one for sure. The Arizona Cardinals were 32nd in report card rankings. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really wanted to come in here on that Thursday and just lay in to Matt Ishbia. Just lay in to Michael Bidwell. I wanted to just give Michael Bidwell a piece of my mind. Because I don't know what I was expecting. And honestly, I forgot about the NFL report cards. Because it's been a new thing. This is only the third time it's came out. The Cardinals were one of the worst teams the first year. The second year, they were 27th. And then this year, they were literally dead last. Of all the 32 teams, they were the worst. And people oftentimes say this. Well, it's Monty Ossenfort. He's the one that's been frugal. What's going to stop the Arizona Cardinals this offseason is Monty Ossenfort's ability to not be frugal, not be quote-unquote cheap. The only thing holding the Arizona Cardinals back this offseason is Michael Bidwell. Will Bidwell be willing to spend money? Will Bidwell be willing to hurt his check pocket just a little bit more? Because you see the NFL grades, 32nd. This is a guy, for 2 years before this, was in the bottom half of NFL rankings. And it wasn't embarrassing to him. It wasn't embarrassing. And every owner looks at him and points and laughs. Because teams like the Raiders with good facilities aren't getting that issue, or whoever it is. The only thing that's not broken with this team in terms of the front office outside of Monty Ossenfort clearly is ownership. And it was great that Jonathan Gannon basically stood on his own and got an A- from players. That was awesome. It made me love Jonathan Gannon even more. And it's like, man, maybe they do have the right guy. The only thing holding the Arizona Cardinals back this week, the only thing holding the Arizona Cardinals back this offseason in free agency and in the trading market is Michael Bidwell. You see him come in last in the NFL player report cards. And you ask yourself, does he really care about winning? And you would be absolutely justified to say, no, he doesn't. And I'd say that's frustrating. But getting 32nd in the NFL player report cards after the first 2 years when you were already in the bottom third of teams, and that didn't wake you up, it's embarrassing. And I don't think he actually cares. I think as long as he's making a ton of money, he doesn't care. Monty Ossenfort is not going to be the reason why this team doesn't get free agents. Is not going to be the reason why he doesn't trade for a big splash player. You can argue he likes his draft picks, and that's fine. I like a guy that swings at the bats, especially a guy that drafts as well as Monty Ossenfort has drafted over the past 2 years. But if you're talking about the extra things, trades, free agency, It's not going to be Monty Ossenfort holding this team back. It's going to be Michael Bidwell, who's like, I don't know if I want to spend that much. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I care about winning that much. Ask the Eagles owner. You think they care? They won the Super Bowl. And they're like, yeah, let's go get Myles Garrett. Michael Bidwell is treating families poorly and has a crappy training room and his locker room is awful. And he's like, whatever, at least I'm making money. So what will hold back the Arizona Cardinals this offseason, if they are indeed held back from signing free agents, from trading from big-name stars, it will be Michael Bidwell. It will not be Monty Ossenfort. Why would Ossenfort not want to go get guys? You got to get that approval from ownership. And for a guy that's dead last in the NFL player report cards, wouldn't shock me if that's the case. Okay, I spent way too much time on that. You guys know my affinity for Cam Skattebo and why I want to see him in Arizona Cardinal red. And I get it. It is a little rich. And if they don't end up with him, I'm not going to be upset with the Cardinals because I just get it. It's a little much to go get another running back 2 years in a row. But I just love what this guy can do, and it looks like he's a freak of nature. And the things he did participate in at the NFL Combine, he was great at. So, freak athlete, his ability to run through the trenches, I want him in Arizona. But I understand the chips have to fall where they do. You still have really good running backs, but man, that guy fits the culture. Man, that guy fits everything about being an Arizona Cardinal right now. Tough, hard-nosed football. And the ability to be mentored under James Conner, which is basically what Cam Skattebo is, the college James Conner. That's a guy I really want on this team. But I get it. I understand it can be a little rich. Here's an NFL Combine hot take for you. And then we'll end it here from the Ben Garcia Show. And there'll be more Combine talk later in the week. But here's this. Tetairoa and McMillan is falling down draft boards reportedly. T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan, the U of A wide receiver, is falling down draft boards a bit. And for everyone that's got anyone else ahead of Tetairoa McMillan as the number one wide receiver in the draft, I simply don't get it. I don't get it. People will say things like, oh, he's only caught go balls. Okay. I guess you and I don't see that kind of thing eye to eye. But Tetairoa McMillan is a freak of nature. And if he falls at 16 to the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals have to really think about just drafting Tetairoa McMillan. In the NFL draft, I think you make mistakes when you draft based upon need and not best available player. Now, sometimes those things overlap, and that's a beautiful thing. But oftentimes, you have to pick between best player available and need of your team. And I understand I was the one leading the charge last year on the maybe don't pick Marvin Harrison Jr. because you can fix things in the trenches. I get he's awesome. I get he's good, but I just think it's a little rich to take a wide receiver there. You could convince me that Tetairoa McMillan is exactly what this offense needs. Now, I understand this is a really hot take for now. We have to see what happens in the free agency space. Got to see if the Cardinals are able to secure a pass rusher, one of those three guys, Micah, Miles, or Max. We got to see what they do. Maybe they go get Zach Bond. I don't know. They've got to beef up this defense. But if things go well in free agency, where they're able to fill up some of their holes, especially defensively, that they don't necessarily have to shift their attention to in the NFL draft, if T-Mac falls to 16, Tetairoa McMillan, that for some reason is falling down draft boards, I think it might be exactly what this offense needs. 2 big body receivers on each of the ends. Taking you can't double cover anyone. I love the potential of T-Mac on the Arizona Cardinals. Now, listen, it has to go right. It has to make sense. And I think there's a real chance he doesn't fall to 16. But it sounds like he was the consensus number 1 wide receiver of this draft for months, years even. And for some reason now everyone is just forgetting how great he is, because U of A wasn't great this year. But I love the idea of getting another freak of nature on offense and just continuously loading up, because we know what Kyler Murray needs is a team offensively that is similar to what the Eagles did. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a top 8 guy. I really don't. But when you combine his talent and his ability to run the football as well as pass it, effectively with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, yeah, you can win a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray, T-Mac, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner, you're like, all right, you got the weapons. We have to see what they do in the draft. We have to see what they do in free agency. We have to see what they do before the draft even commences. But if T-Mac falls to 16, it's that old argument of, do you take best player available or do you take need? And I think mistakes are made when teams don't take the best player available. And T-Mac just might be that guy. All right, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. It is time for me to head off to work. And yes, I'm incredibly tired, given the fact there was a Suns game last night, and here I am just talking with you guys about sports. And I'm going to do the same thing potentially on Wednesday after the Suns play the Clippers on Tuesday. Well, potentially, who knows? Maybe I cancel it and I'm just really tired. But either way, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for being here on a Monday. I will see you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. local time. And until then, I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been the Ben Garcia Show.